Ages Hit by William Freyer Harvey. Ages 20, 1910. I have had what I believe to be the most remarkable day in my life, and while the events are still fresh in my mind, I wish to put them down on paper as clearly as possible. Let me say at the outset that my name is James Clarence Withencroft. I am 40 years old, in perfect health, never having known a day illness. By profession, I am an artist. Not a very successful one, but I earn enough money by my black and white work to satisfy my necessary wants. My only known relative, a sister, died 5 years ago, so that I'm independent. I breakfast this morning at 9. And after glancing through the morning paper, I light my pipe and process to let my mind wander in the hope that I might chance upon some subject for my pencil. The room, through door and window were open, was oppressively hot, and I had just made up my mind that the coolest and most comfortable place in the neighborhood would be the deep end of the public swimming bath when the idea came. I began to drowse, so interest was I on my work that I left my lunch untouched, only stopping work when the clock of St. George struck hour. The final result for a hurried sketch was, I felt sure, the best thing I have done. It showed a criminal in the dock immediately after the judge had pronounced sentence. The man was fat, enormously fat. The flesh hung in roll about his chin. It creased his huge, stumpy neck. He was clean-shaven. Perhaps I should say a few days before he must have been clean-shaven, and almost bald. He stood in the dock, his short, clumsy finger clasping the rail, looking straight in front of him. The feeling that his expression conveyed was not so much one of horror as of utter absolute collapse. There seemed nothing in the man strong enough to sustain that mountain of flesh. I rolled up the sketch, and without quite knowing why, placed it in my pocket. Then, with the rare sense of happiness which the knowledge of a good thing well done gives, I left the house. I believe that I set out with the idea of calling upon Trenton, for I remember walking along Lighton Street and turning to my right along Gilchrist Road at the bottom of the hill where the men were at work on the new tram lines. From there onwards, I have only the vaguest recollection of where I went. The one thing of which I was fully conscious was the awful heat. They came up for the dusty asphalt pavement as an almost pale-blue wave. I long for the thunder promised by the great banks of copper-colored cloud that hung low over the western sky. I must have walked 5 or 6 miles when a small boy roused me from my reverie by asking the time. It was 20 minutes to 7. When he left me, I began to take stock of my bearings. I found myself standing before a gate that led into a yard bordered by a strip of thirsty earth, where there were flowers, purple stalk and scarlet geranium. Above the entrance was a board with the inscription, Chas Atkinson, monumental mason, worker in English and Italian marbles. From the yard itself came a cheery whistle, the noise of hammer blows and the cold sound of steel meeting stone. A sudden impulse made me enter. A man was sitting with his back towards me, busy at work on a slab of curiously faint marble. He turned round as he heard my step, and I stopped short. It was the man I had been drawing, whose portrait lay in my pocket. He sat there, huge and elephantine, the sweat pouring from his scalp, which he wiped with a red silk handkerchief, but through the vest was the same. The expression was absolutely different. He greeted me smiling as if we were old friends, and shook my hand. I apologized for my intrusion. "Everything is hot and gray outside," I said. "This seems an oasis in the wilderness." "I don't know about the oasis," he replied, "but I certainly hot as hell. Take a seat, sir." He pointed to the end of the gravestone on which he was at work, and I sat down. "That's a beautiful piece of stone you've got hold of," I said. He shook his head. "In a way it is," he answered. "The surface here is as fine as anything you could wish. But there's a big flaw at the back, though I don't expect you ever notice it. I could never make really a good job of a bit of marble like that. It will be alright in the summer like this. It wouldn't mind the blizzard heat. But wait till the winter comes. There's nothing quite like frost to find out the weak point in stone." "Then, what is it for?" I asked. The man burst off laughing. "You'd hardly believe me if I was to tell you it's for an exhibition, for it's the truth artists have exhibition. So the grocers and butchers, we have them too. All the latest thing in the headstone, you know." He went on to talk of marble which short best withstood wind and rain, and which were easiest to work. Then of his garden and a new sort of carnation he had both. At the end of every other minute he would drop his tools, wipe his shining head, and curse the beat. I said little, for I felt uneasy. There was something unnatural and uncanny in meeting this man. I tried at first to persuade myself I had seen him before. That his face, unknown to me, had found a place in some out-of-the-way corner of my memory, but I knew that I was practicing a little more than a plausible piece of self-deception. Mr. Atkinson finished his work, spat on the ground, and got up with a sigh of relief. "There, what do you think of that?" he said, with an air of evident pride. "The inscription which I read for the first time was this: Sacred to the memory of James Clara Williamclough, born January 18, 1860. He passed away very suddenly on August 20, 1910. In the midst of life we are in death." For some time I sat in silence. Then a cold shudder ran down my spine. I asked him where he had seen the name. "Oh, I didn't see it anywhere," replied Mr. Atkinson. "I want some name, and I put down the verse that came into my head. Why do you want to know?" "It is a strange coincidence, but it happens to be mine." He gave a long, low whistle. "And the date?" I can only answer for one of them, and that's correct. Is a room go? He said. But he knew less than I did. I told him of my morning work. I took the sketch from my pocket and showed it to him. As he looked, the expression of his face altered until it became more and more like that of the man I had drowned. "I was only the day before yesterday," he said. Then I told Maria there were no such thing as ghosts. Neither of us had seen a ghost, but I knew what he meant. "You probably heard my name," I said, "and you must have seen me somewhere or have forgotten it. Were you at Clacton on Sea last July?" I had never been to Clacton in my life. We were silent for some time. We were both looking at the same thing, the two deaths of the gravestone, and one was right. "Come inside and have some supper, Mr. Atkinson." His wife is a cheerful little woman with the flaky red cheeks of the country bred. Her husband introduced me as a friend of his who was an artist. The result was unfortunate, for after his hardness and what third crest had been removed, she wrote off our Bible, and I had to sit and express my admiration for nearly half an hour. I went outside and found Atkinson sitting on the gravestone smoking. We resumed the conversation at the point we had left off. "You must excuse my asking," I said, "but do you know of anything you've done for which you could be put on trial?" He shook his head. "I'm not a bankrupt. The business ain't prosperous enough. 3 years ago I gave turkey to some of the Guardian at Christmas, but that's all I can think of, and they were small ones too," he added as an afterthought. He got up, fetched and came from the porch, and began to water the flower. "Twice a day, regular in the hot weather," he said. "And then the heat sometimes gets the better of the delicate ones, and firms, good Lord, they could never stand it. Where do you live?" I told him my address. It would take an hour quick walk to get back home. "It's like this," he said. "Well, look at the matter straight. If you go back home tonight, you take your chance of accident. A cart may run over you, and there are always banana skins and orange peel, to say nothing of fallen leathers." He spoke of the improbable with an intense seriousness that would have been laughable 6 hours before, but I did not laugh. "The best thing we can do," he continued, "is for you to stay here till 12 o'clock. We'll go upstairs and smoke. It may be cooler inside." To my surprise, I agreed. We are sitting now in a low room beneath our eaves. Atkinson has sent his wife to bed. He himself is busy, sharpening some tools at a little old stone, smoking one of my cigars the while. The air seemed changed with thunder. I'm writing this at a shaky table before the open window. The light is cracked, and Atkinson, who seemed a handyman with his tools, is going to mend it as soon as he has finished putting an edge on his chisel. It is after 11 now. I shall be gone in less than an hour. But the heat is stifling. It is enough to send a man mad.